Oh, it's a Monday. All right, so I'm going to do something here. All right, so look behind me, and you kind of see what's going on. The boss invaded the office this morning, and you kind of see what's up. Yeah, the boss has kind of made it impossible for me, and that's why I was late getting on this morning. It's because it was impossible for me to actually get here to sit. That's what's going on this morning, at least to start things off. So, morning for another Reaction Monday here on Soccer's Morning Show. It's Soccer Down here. John here, you there. Cast of Thousands coming in this morning to talk stuff. Anticipating Abe and Chipper coming in at 9:15 and Bart Keeler coming in at 10 o'clock to discuss VAR and Atlanta United and specifically what's been going on through there, plus what happened last night with the USMNT. So we'll get his early thoughts there. Abel talking about Atlanta United, and hopefully we can get Jared's thoughts on all of this as well. So we'll see how it all lays out. All right, so lay of the land this morning. Obviously, I have to explain what's going on here. It's not necessarily all of a large discussion or a difficult one, but yes, it is my birthday, and that's boss with with the keys to the office invaded this morning, and as you see, had made it incredibly difficult for me to even function. I could not even find a way in this morning. So you see what I had to push things to the side, and I can't open doors to other parts of the studio. So you see, you've got serpentina and banners and inflatables and the whole thing, and you see what she's done here in the back with the banners and everything. So so it is another tour around the sun. And so the boss made it difficult for me. It literally took me 10 minutes to figure out how to get into the seat this morning so we could do the morning show. So to answer early questions, Lakewood, California, Lakewood General Hospital, right off the 91 freeway. And it was a single level hospital at the time with a neon sign on top. And my actual birth time was about 40 minutes from now, or 40 minutes ago. It was 8:30 in the morning. And like I said, single level hospital neon sign. And so that's where it all was 917 years ago today. So that's where all of this has come from. The boss and I, and thanks to everybody who's already reached out, whether it's been on Discord or Twitch or social media, because there's been a lot of you that have already done that this morning when your notifications get set up. Folks are asking about me and the boss. June is a very busy month for birthdays in the family. The first is my sister. I have other family on the 21st and the 26th, and the boss is the 27th. We know what's happening on the 27th. She's got stuff to do. She's got her lady friends and all of her female friends, and they're going to go and party on the 27th. I've got to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for Atlanta for the U.S. national team in Panama. See where my head is. So I'm at Mercedes-Benz. She's going to go hang out with all of her friends and her posse, and so we're setting something up for ourselves for tomorrow. So if you see us out and about in the community, that's what we're doing. We kind of picked a midpoint, 25 and a half. And that's when we're both celebrating our birthdays. So that's where we are. I don't know if I can match the insanity that the boss did this morning here in Office HD, but we'll figure it out. Yes, there is some Thiago Almada news that we've got to get into this morning and other stuff as well. But first, wasting no time, now that he is properly hydrated and I've filibustered appropriately, it's time to catch up with our buddy Abe Gordon on a Monday. Abe, this is what happens when the boss invades the office.
Yeah, well, first off, happy birthday. For us, it's August. August is a busy month. I got my dad, me, and I have a twin sister. We're 2 days apart. My dad and me and my sister, and then my mom is the back end of the month. So August is our busy birthday month. But as you're getting ready for Copa America. I'm normally attending training camp for the Falcons throughout that month. So it's tough to find the time.
Yeah, and so like I said, literally it was like trying to find a midpoint with the boss for the entire thing, and so that's what we've done. But yeah, she invaded this morning and completely and totally inundated me with inflatables and helium, and I don't know how long these things are going to be able to function. But yeah, so this is what I walked down into this morning in the studio space. So
I thought maybe it was just that celebratory of a goal for Christian Pulisic last night that we had to bring it all together. So.
Yeah, the third-minute goal. So it's like, yeah, we have 2 inflatables here for a third-minute goal this morning. Look, man, I can't even get into the bathroom here down in the office because she has barricaded it all with all these inflatables this morning. All right, so where do you want to start? Do you want to work backwards and go U.S. men's national team and work your way back through the week with Atlanta United? Your call.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so 2 in the first half for Atlanta. Man,
I've been doing that all week, John. I've been telling you, I did that all week on the pregame and postgame, trying to talk about the U.S. men's national team while saying Atlanta United. It's been a mess, so I'm right there with you.
Oh, man. So last night at the stadium that seems to be already the early choice for a lot of matches in the Copa, it was an opportunity in the third. You get another in the 44th from Fuller and Balogun. 2 on the board, you win 2-0, but you're still second in the group because of goals scored by El Loco, Marcelo Bielsa, and Uruguay in their 3-1 win.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. It was nice to get the tournament started off that way for the U.S. men's national team. One, just getting on the scoreboard early against a team you should be beating handily anyways is good. To have it be Christian Pulisic a little bit more as he kind of has been the guy that has been kind of anointed as the leader and captain here in many ways. Frustrating first half, and really nice to get the second one before halftime. I do not think you wanted to be in a position, and we've seen it both international play, but even club tournaments as well. I mean, when you look at what's going on with own goals in Euros, and it's just like you don't want to put yourself in a situation where a weird bounce can level things up. And so I thought it was really important to get that second goal. Really nice move from Balogun because I think the defender thought he was going to cut back inside. He actually keeps it outside, and instead of taking it inside on his right foot, he keeps it outside on his left. I think the defender was a little bit surprised at the choice of space he went with, and that gave him just enough of a slow reaction time to get that shot off. But you go in 2-0. Goalkeeper for Bolivia makes a couple of really nice saves in the second half. You win 2-0. Could have been 4 or 5. I'm comfortable. I was talking with some people at a watch party last night.
Yes, you were, sir.
We were having some fun, and it was just at the end of the day, you picked up 3 points, which is really what you're there to do. Is it the most impressive victory we've ever seen? No, but you had to pick up 3 points if you're going to have an opportunity to advance out of this group with a result against Panama, and then we'll see what happens in the final group match and against Uruguay. And just put yourself in a position, honestly, where that match doesn't matter. It is the best you can do. And you can do that by beating Panama Thursday here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So pretty nice to see. And then we just move forward and hope you can carry a little bit of momentum. I'm not too worried about the scoreline. I thought they played pretty well. They clearly were the better team, and I'll take that.
Now, and what you're hunting for is when you get into a tournament, you don't want to be in fifth gear. You don't want to turn the engine over and then slam it into fifth, because that creates issues with your engine. You want to make sure that you want to make sure your gears work. You want to get from first, if you can shift from first to third in an emergency, that's cool. Second to fourth in an emergency when you're trying to escape, that's fine. But you want to make sure that the gears work in the transmission, and you want to get better as you go. I don't think you want to hit fifth gear out of the blocks.
Yeah, no, you want to ramp up. And look, you also don't want, and we talk about this as we've watched Euros, you don't want the opening game to be the best one you play, right? I mean, you want to build throughout the tournament. And so I thought you did that. I thought you give yourself a chance to improve from match to match. And then also, you didn't put yourself in too much trouble with yellow cards. And I think we've seen that already in Euros, that 2-game accumulation is going to force people to miss knockout around to 16 games. And so you want to keep yourself careful and safe there. I thought you saw some early subs when you had the 2-0 lead, knowing you're probably going to need to go full bore against Panama and full bore against Uruguay as well. So, Tyler Adams came out at 45 minutes. I don't think you're going to see that necessarily moving forward. So it gave you an opportunity to do some things to where you are building through the tournament. And so hope to bring it home on Thursday night right here in our backyard.
In front of hopefully 11 gazillion people, and turning it into another 70,000 plus for a full USMNT. All right, let's shift to the full week that we've had since last you visited where Atlanta United's concerned. 4 points, 2 matches. Let's take it first. Let's work our way forward. Let's start with DC, and that pitch. I mean, it looked like me at the driving range trying to work my wedges, man. I mean, that was, in addition to all the other things going on, that was just the home of the DC Defenders really was taking chunks out of everything for DC United.
Yeah, for all the complaints about the pitch at Mercedes-Benz Stadium from the Argentinian national team, there's no way it was worse than some of the corners in the field there at Audi Field. And I'll be honest, like I lived in DC for 6 years. Like every stadium they have there is a dump in terms of like the quality of the field. It just did, like RFK sucked. Well, FedEx Field sucks.
We had raccoons, man. I mean,
so yeah, I don't know what's going on there in DC, but they don't do a very good job pretty much anywhere. I guess Nationals Park is okay, but how tough is it to get a baseball field going? But yeah, at the end of the day, field quality aside, there were some interesting decisions made by Rob Valentino. I think we have to credit him there. And it's a decision I called for the first time that they faced DC United without Stian Gregerson. And that was for Efrain Morales to come in and deal with Christian Benteke. You didn't have a big body available the first time, and he scored 3 header goals, and you lost that game because of it. Valentino makes the call to bring in Efrain Morales in this one. And I think he did a great job getting Benteke off his game early, and there were very few chances for him late. Cruz makes an outstanding save, diving to his left, somehow gets a paw on it and knocks it away from goal. But with the exception of that, Benteke really didn't have many chances. And I do think it is because Efrain Morales' big body got in the way. Even if he didn't necessarily jump with him, he got a body on him. He moved him around a little bit. And that was something I'd wanted the first time. We got it this time, and certainly it paid dividends. And then you get the strike from Thiago Almada. I actually didn't pay attention. Did it end up winning goal of the match day? If it didn't, it should have. I don't trust voters.
Yeah.
So that's
it's
where
all,
you go.
It's all ballot stuffing. I mean, you know that.
Yeah, but in a moment where you needed some brilliance, he provided it, and so you pick up 3 good points, and obviously that streams itself into this past Saturday night in St. Louis City. That's right. And look, I thought the team played pretty well, if we're going to be honest. They kept with Efrain Morales in the back, which was interesting. I didn't know if that was going to be a little bit more consistency there or if that was a move just to deal with Benteke, and without that physical presence coming at you, St. Louis doesn't have a guy like that. Would they switch it up? But it was nice to see him back. I thought it was nice to see Stian Gregerson play as many minutes as he did. I did not expect did he come on at halftime or
no, it was a later sub than that. I don't think.
Okay.
I will effort that information. But.
Yeah, but he played more minutes than I thought he did. And I didn't, to be honest, I don't know if I expected Jamal Tiare to get a start based on some of the early week comments from Rob Valentino, but he gave you some good minutes as well. Look, you go on the road, you end up down a goal. You do not have Thiago Almada, along with all of the other players that you're missing for various reasons. I think that's an okay result. I really do. I'd feel differently if you'd gone up a goal and lost it to 1-1, but going down a goal and then scratching and clawing, finally getting a penalty kick and then converting after the initial save. And kind of that moment in its own kind of was a little microcosm of the entire game of scratching and clawing. It didn't work out at first, but then it did. Plus, we were provided with one of the all-time great referee backstabs in MLS history.
You want to talk about, you know what, Steon did come in 45 for effort. You want to talk about cutting a promo. This reminded me of the CM Punk promo from this past week. I acknowledge that you're a wannabe and you're a cosplay, it's like you sit there and you're getting the setup and then all of a sudden he turns right and gives you the rest of it. I'm like, man, that was cold, brother.
Well, the great comedic timing aspect of it was that he just delayed himself long enough for the St. Louis fans to explode before he said, however, earlier in the play. So I was kind of calling that as it was. I was sitting there with Jarrett Smith. He was helping us out on pregame, and as we're watching it live, I'm like, "Oh, that's not a foul on Moyamba." Okay, and then they end up scoring the goal that was eventually overturned. And I told Jarrett, I said, I honestly don't think that's impeding the goalie from the offsides position. I did not think Goose reacted to the St. Louis player where he was. And I think the deflection itself, but yes, he was standing offsides, but I don't think that Goose reacted to him standing offside. So I didn't think it was going to get overturned from that perspective. And that was confirmed with that wild announcement, but then they do bring it back to the point where I initially said, hey, it looks like a foul on Moyamba. Now, when you're watching it live, you don't know that leads to a goal scoring opportunity, right? It's a foul in the middle of the field, but that was the start of the buildup. So you do have a little bit of luck there, and then you kind of do make your own luck. And look, you're talking about 4 points on the road on this little road trip. You're talking about 5 points in 3 matches under Rob Valentino with some real opportunity here. And I think, and I thought you did lose a little opportunity when you lost Thiago Almada, because I think with Thiago Almada, you probably beat St. Louis and are able to pick up 3 points on the road, but you've got him coming back. It looks like Gregerson may be ready to go from the start whistle. And you've got Toronto FC here in a situation where I think they lost maybe 3-0 on Saturday night, something like that. And you're back at home, an opportunity to finally get another home win. And then you've got the New England Revolution. And I know you got Real Salt Lake kind of creeping up there as well. That one's going to be tough. It's a road game, and that's going to be a nightmare. But if you could start to stack points, I mean, we saw what 3 points in DC did to where you are in the standings. And look, it's a lot tighter below you than it is above you. You've really got some ground to make up if you want to move anywhere. But I think maybe getting into like 7th or maybe fighting for 6th, possibly over the course of the rest of the season is a discussion. It's going to be tough to get much higher than 7, though. But I think there are some steps you can take, and certainly beating Toronto FC is the first one. We saw you go from 13th to 9th with 1 victory, and it's not, you're not going to jump 4 spots with another, but the avenue is there for you to kind of solidify your place in the playoff standings. And so if you're going to do it, these next 2 games give you a real opportunity, because I just, back to what we said earlier in the season, like, I just feel you're the better team in both these situations. I don't really care that New England went on the road and took out Cincinnati. Look, every once in a while that's going to happen, but you're still better than them. It doesn't change the fact that they're still one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, one of the worst teams in all of MLS. You got to deal with Toronto first, and you go ahead and do that at home. But I think there's real potential. And then if that happens, and I know it would only be 4 or 5 games in, but you have to really start discussing this Rob Valentino thing. And again, nothing against Gonzalo Pineda. The results are what the results are. But if you can get, you got what, 5 now? If you can get 8, 9, possibly 11 points out of his first 5 matches, you start paying attention to how the rest of the season is going to look a little bit more.
Toronto in their last handful have not been good. They have been refried. Yeah. They have been refried poutine in their last 3. Losing at home to Chicago 4-1. I think that was probably one of the bigger stunners. And then John Herdman said that match, not this past Saturday, but 2 Saturdays ago, 9 days ago, was one of the worst matches that he saw any of his players do in the 30 years that he's been coaching. I don't think that's going to work well if you continue to say stuff like that in your press conferences. You might want to keep that stuff behind closed doors. but it didn't get any better after that 4-1 loss. You lose 2-1 at home to Nashville, and then you go on the road to Red Bull, and you were right. They lose 3-0 in that matchup that was a bit of a late start because of the weather in Harrison, New Jersey. And so Toronto's coming in here having lost 3 on the spin, and you don't really know which Toronto team you're going to get, which one's going to show up, the one that is just absolute you-know-what, or the one where they're going to put 4 or 5 on the board. But you got to take care of business, and you're doing it with the younger players, the ones that have come up through the system, the ones that you've grown yourselves, all of these homegrowns, because at the end of matches, you're seeing combinations of Caleb, Ephra, Noah, Luke Brennan, and all of these younger guys that are out there for you, and Jay Fortune. So you're getting the younger guys that you've built for these situations taking care of business for you.
Yeah, a couple of things. Just for Toronto, you can speak to your team through the media, but you can also lose your team through the media. And that might be, I'm not saying it fully is, but that might be what we're witnessing right now. He made a statement with the hopes of having it reach them one way, and they may have taken it another. So we'll see what's going on there. Yeah, look, just specifically to Jay Fortune, I thought he was outstanding coming into the midfield on Saturday night. We knew we didn't have Thiago Almada. You're not asking him to be Thiago Almada. You just want him to be him. And I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought he was dangerous in moments. He obviously rattled the crossbar at one point too. I thought he was very good. When I look at what has happened with these young guys, and it can start with Caleb Wiley. He was kind of the earliest, and maybe a throwback to George Bello as well. But Caleb, and then Noah Cobb, and then kind of falling in line has been Efrain Morales a little bit, and then Luke Brennan. And the thing that you're seeing, and I know we talked about it with Caleb, but now you're seeing the same thing with these other 3 guys. And I think it might be what the academy is doing is the mindset. There is not a single one of these guys that comes up out of the academy or from the twos that doesn't feel like they can play, that doesn't feel like they belong on the field, that's going to back down to an opponent, that is timid. Like, that's just not there. I think that mentality is something special built out of the academy and built out of Atlanta United too. And when they get their opportunity, they grasp it. And that doesn't mean that they may not lose it. I mean, look, I'm guessing that Efrain Morales is not going to get the start this weekend. If Stian Gregerson is coming back, it's probably him, Derek Williams, and Noah Cobb. I don't think there's anything wrong with what Efrain Morales has done. I think that's the numbers game, and we've talked about it. They're trying to find a way to keep Noah Cobb involved, because if you go back to your regular 2 backs, it's going to be Gregerson and it's going to be Williams. I think moving to 3 might be a reason because of trying to keep Cobb involved and not having him take a step back in his professional development, along with some of the advantages it gives you on field. But yeah, I think like the overarching theme is that when you see these guys come into the MLS from the academy, from the twos, they are prepared mentally as much as they are physically. And I don't think every team has a development system like that. Every franchise has a development system like that. From the physical standpoint, sure, these guys have skills all across the MLS, but I think what the mental aspect and preparation for the young guys here is probably better than I've seen across MLS. And I think it's so important for them to come up and have a couple things told to them or acknowledge their way. We're not looking for you to do anything but do what you do on other levels. Just be yourself. And look, you're here for a reason. We know you're good. They know you're good. Show them that you're good. Don't back down and let's get after it. And I mean, there hasn't been a single guy that I've looked at and said, man, I don't know if they belong here right now. I mean, even when you look at some of the U.S. Open Cup guys and who's come up, and I know Edwards popped on a short term, but we've even seen Ashton Gordon. And he was maybe the one at his age that I thought was a little timid his first game. Who was that? Charleston or
yeah,
whoever it was.
A battery where you completely and totally almost rotated. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was maybe a little timid, but obviously he's kind of a little bit more green to that. But yeah, I mean, the fact that these guys can come in and you don't feel like you're missing a beat is so impressive. And that's, Yeah, that's about like the first team and welcoming them in and Rob Valentino. But it is so much about Garth Lagerwey, the academy, and the twos, and the acceptance and the mindset. It's been really impressive to see these guys come in and perform. And like I said, in the case of Efrain Morales against Christian Benteke, like make an obvious, clear, and immediate difference in what's going on the field.
And we're getting ready for Toronto coming up in short order. I see that you are downtown at Colony Square. What is now that you've survived the watch party from yesterday? You've had the early wake up. You're properly hydrating on a day where it might be 11 gazillion degrees by the time we're done. What's going on in the world of Abe Gordon? Folks need to know about.
Yeah, we're gonna try and find some time to get a run in today. It might have to be a treadmill run. We're gearing up for Peachtree. It's middle of next week, so I got to get one longer run in, maybe 5 or 5.5 this week at some point, out in the elements. So we may do that today. I may try and sneak it in tomorrow morning. But yeah, look, we're getting ready just like everyone. We've obviously got the national team coming here on Thursday. I'll be doing a show Thursday night, kind of during the last part of that game and as it wraps up. So we'll have a lot of reaction to the U.S. men's national team. And then obviously, like you said, Saturday, we've got the MLS back in action for Atlanta United with an opportunity to really turn this season around. You're starting to kind of feel it, kind of get over the hump a little bit. But if you could pick up 3 more points, you'll start to be going downhill and rolling pretty quickly. And so looking forward to that.
At Abe Gordon at 929, the game on the 280 character app. As always, my friend, great to have you hanging out with us to kick things off every single Monday on Reaction Mondays, where we talk about stuff. That's the official term. Thank you, my friend. Be safe. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Once again, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. At some point, I may try and figure out how to navigate all this just so you can see all of the handiwork that the boss went into. Actually, tell you what, let me see if I can swing this right now. Okay. She admitted, for those of you who are watching on the video side, she admitted that trying to make this work was a challenge. And so this, as I'm lifting things here so I can create pathways for myself, she did the years. And so getting the second number in the birthdays to stay upright seemed to have been the challenge this morning. And so she admits that there was a great deal of consternation in trying to make sure that the second number would be as functioning as possible. And she had, and it was Abby's young thundersticks here that were trying to help out with making sure that things could stand up straight. And it didn't quite function that way. And so this is the first number, and you see how it is behaving. And so what she did is, it looks like what she ended up doing was make sure that it kind of stayed under the train track, and that kept it where it is. And so the first one worked. The second one is having issues and hasn't had its morning cup of caffeine. So that's what the boss ended up doing this morning when I wasn't looking. I'm trying to get breakfast, and so what she does is she completely and totally just commandeers the office and the studio space and tries to make sure that I have a problem trying to figure out where I can sit. So yeah, so you can see what she did back here, complete with bunting all the way through. And thanks to everybody who's reached out, and thanks to everybody who puts up with me on a daily basis and a yearly basis. So yes, Hutch, Roman numerals actually, let's see, Roman numerals would have been one more set of balloons. So it would have been all of the fun stuff. No, Pars. Yeah. It is not. That is not next year. So Pars, who is in Puerto Vallarta, by the way, and well done, sir. Yeah. Happy birthday telegram would have been fitting. Yeah, I just have these visions of Ferris Bueller. Pars is actually catching up with us from Puerto Vallarta, or Parza Vallarta, as I called it. So I am not quite to the 6-0, sir. Give me another day and a half. So, yeah, Hutch, I think, Hutch, I'm close to the Super Bowls, the Roman numeral classics, and I think they're pretty close. So, since we are now in the second half hour, morning, Ricky, morning, Tom, morning, Alex, morning, Will. And once again, thank you. Yes, it is, Kev C. It is. Absolutely. And so let's see. Yeah, Will was at an Italian wedding during the Atlanta match. Only know it was a 1-1 draw. Yes, there was. Will, there was another VAR incident, and we will discuss. But when Bart comes in at 10 o'clock, that's when we will discuss it, because it is definitely part of reffing down here. What I may do is I may break up the highlights themselves and discuss what happened in the matchup with St. Louis and the news of the morning, and we'll catch up with all that stuff coming up in just a little bit. So, yes. However, Kefsey and Tom and Ricky and Alex and so people are wanting Philip Dujich to be the insert in the Yorgos Giacomakis element in the highlight reel. By the way, our national nightmare is over. It only took 6 days for Yorgos Giacomakis to thank the 17s on his social media. I think it was 6. Might have been 7. But it took him 6 days to thank the 17s. Congratulations. Yes, form follows function, Hutch. Kevsey and Tom and Pars and yes, Will. Everyday Malakia. Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be, yeah. And Will, that was Franco Escobar. Luke Brennan has a rent-free apartment in the head of the Dynamo left back. That was Franco Escobar a lot of the time. And it was like I said, Luke Brennan. I mean, cool hand Luke with that nutmeg as he was going down the attacking right, that one instance. Yeah, we were all watching that particular move, and we were fanning ourselves appropriately, much like Travis Kelce was at Wembley. Alex, not controversial. I mean, he doesn't see a step down between Mutombo and Fortune. That's what you want. I think that they bring different things to the table. And once again, I think that's something else that you want in this process. Tristan, not afraid to go forward and be an offensive player. Jay, more of a stay-at-home type. If the opportunity is there, Jay will jump into the play. Or if he's asked to do that kind of a thing, he will. But I think that traditionally, Tristan, sees himself as more of an offensive option. He'll come back and help out the build, and he'll work forward, and he'll go as forward as humanly possible. Jay, I think, most of the time seems to be the stay at home. But if he's asked to jump into the play, he'll jump into the play, as a 6 or an 8. But I think that Tristan is more than willing to sit there and raise his hand and go, yo, I'll go forward. I'll join you. Jay is, I think, more stay at home first and then engage, where Tristan's like, yep, I'm in. One of those kind of things. And the same with Bart, where with Bart, and he might be coming back to Atlanta United sooner than anticipated, because when you don't have Robert Lewandowski in your first 2 matches, and you don't have him for a whole lot of the second one, looks like Poland might be coming home sooner than you would have anticipated. But with Bart, Bart's not afraid. If you wanted to have a situation where you have 2 midfielders who can be 6s, and you want one of them to be an 8, Jay could be the one to go forward, and Bart would be the one to kind of help you out defensively and be the more 6-ish of the 2. So you've got options, and that's never a bad thing. I think that's where you want to construct these kinds of things, and that's where you are right now with that midfield when everybody is not representing their country or is healthy. Hutch, with the public service announcement: hose your dog down before you run. Savage race in Dallas in September. That's out in Paulding County. That just seems savage anyway. Yes, OG morning. Let's see. Trying to go past all of the things. Yes, Alex, I hope you're having a hoot of a birthday. Stop. Best wishes. Stop. Alex has gone back to the Western Union approach for letting folks know about birthdays. Yeah, Hutch, pro needs VAR decision announcements, classes for the refs. Yeah, I mean, I do. Okay, so here's what I'll do. Tom, I will read it as such. I will read it as such. Dearest John, stop. Hope you're having a hoot of a birthday. Stop. Best wishes. Stop. There you go. Yes, absolutely. With the telegram. Yes. Yeah. Well, Will, yes. Gattuso related to Toronto. Absolutely. Sometimes I see now I need to get that drop now. I'm going to write that down. Gattuso drop. Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be. Every day, Malakia. Absolutely true. Gattuso. See, I'm adding drops, and so that's definitely one I think that has to be added. I added a couple others. And, one has to do with our friends Seth and Amy. Really? Yeah, so you got that. And, okay, so, yes, you do get assistant producer credits today. So, all right, let's go through the goals in the match. Actually, the goal for Atlanta United. We will save the situation of VAR. We will save that for the top of the hour when Bart joins us for reffing down here in USMNT and all that kind of stuff, because we've got to walk through it. And we do have to walk through it because it was basically a 7-minute instance that was on the broadcast. I have it, but I only clipped the ending that starts with our buddy Philip Dujic and his, I acknowledge that I've got the however moment. That's where we start VAR review, and we'll walk through the play itself, and we'll go through all of what was going on and what needed to be adjudicated and what didn't need to be adjudicated. And what needed to be re-adjudicated was the answer 0. But it was 1-0 after VAR wiped the first goal off the board for St. Louis City SC, and they would end up scoring to make it 1-0. Then you had this moment in the match that would eventually equalize it once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Silva back to Lennon, corner of the 18, sends it to the back post, headed clear, and then tripped over the penalty spot as Rios. Here's a volley attempt, penalty!
Handball.
On the handball, not the foul.
I think it could be the trip too, but I thought it was the handball. You got two options here. Yunus Merachi will take a look at it.
Sure he will.
Gregerson is the one who ended up on the ground after the trip. Well-worked corner. Lennon on the play from Silva, puts it into the back post, headed away. Gregerson brought it down. I don't think that's the call.
Handball,
it's not an easy one. Yeah, it's not an easy one. That could get turned back. I think his arm is into his body. I don't think there's a lot in the trip if you're looking at that. We're not quite sure what Philip Dujic, which one he called. Both are debatable both ways.
As you would expect, they are looking at it.
Yeah, and they should.
They're looking at the foul first, we are told.
This is what VAR is there for. This is what they do. If they overturn this, I'm not necessarily going to argue it.
No.
It's a 50-50 call. It's a judgment call either way.
Daniel Rios is standing at the penalty spot for Atlanta if it stands.
You need to have something here, though, that Dujic did not see to get involved. If we're overturning judgment calls, that's a problem.
Still being looked at by Merachi in Texas.
It's Thoresen defending Gregerson.
Boy, they're lined up like they're going to take this.
Yeah.
I think the check might be over.
It's a judgment call. It's hard to overturn if it's a judgment call.
First penalty Berkey has faced this year. Rios to take it. Action at the goal to our left. 71st minute. For the equalizer. Rios up to it. Strikes it. Save. Rebound. Score! Berkey spilled the rebound right to Rios, who slam dunks it.
And that's how you ended up at 1-1. And that would end up being the final score. Going through all the stats and the numbers that we had from the match. Let's see. Our friends at SofaScore had it listed as a 3-4-3 when it really was more like a 5-3-2 or 5-2-3. So Shonday, Daniel, Jamal, 6.7s and 6.8 for Jamal. Caleb had a 6.9, and I love how SofaScore has Caleb as a midfielder. Tristan had a 7-1. Jay had a 7-7. Brooks Lennon a 7.2. Noah Cobb a 7.5. Derek Williams a 7.3. Ephra a 6.7 before he was subbed out at the half. He also had put up a whole lot of minutes. And I also love how SofaScore put Noah on the left and Ephra on the right. Brad between the sticks at a 7.2. Jay Fortune, by the way, played the full 90 minutes. 62 touches, 84% passing on 38 of 45, 6 of 8 on long balls in the match. 2 for 2 on dribbles, hit the woodwork once, 8 for 10 on his ground duels, 0 for 2 in the air. So 8 of 12 overall, but 8 of 10 on the ground. He was fouled 3 times, had 1 clearance, 1 block, 3 picks, 3 total tackles. Jay Fortune was ridiculous against St. Louis City SC. Steon Gregerson came in at 45 to replace Ephra, got a 7.2. Dax gave you 60 before Jamal came in. Dax came in with 30 to go, replacing Jamal, who gave you a 6. Dax gave you a 6.6. Luke Brennan came in for a cup of coffee. Nick Firmino came in for a cup of coffee, replacing Shonday and Daniel Rios. Josh Cohen, Matt Edwards, Ronald Hernandez, Matias Gajardo, Tyler Wolf did not play. They were a part of the traveling party. Stats on the day against St. Louis. XG, for those of you that like those kinds of things, 1.51 to 1.06 in favor of Atlanta United. 3 big chances to 1. St. Louis City SC had 16 total shots compared to 13. 7 saves for Berkey on the day, 7 corners. And it was 3 saves for Brad Gazan, 5 corners. Passes about the same in number. Tackles 17-14 in favor of the home side, 12-11 in kicks, free kicks, 3 yellows on the day, 2 of them for St. Louis. Once again, total shots 16-13, 8 shots for Atlanta's on target compared to only 4 for St. Louis, 1 hitting the woodwork each, 4 off target each, 8 blocks for St. Louis on the day compared to only 1 needed for Atlanta. 10 inside the 18, which means 6 outside the 18 for City. City, 3 for Atlanta. 1 big chance scored by Atlanta, 2 big chances missed, 3 through balls for St. Louis. Touches in the penalty area, 28-24 for the home side. 3 times Atlanta was fouled in the final third compared to 2. 3 offsides on the day, 2 for St. Louis and 1 for Atlanta. Accurate passing, 30 more passes for Atlanta United than St. Louis. Throw-ins just more than a little bit more than 50% of the 43 go to St. Louis. Long balls, Atlanta, 35 of 76 compared to only 17 completions on long balls for St. Louis. 7 crosses compared to 6. And the duels in the overall went 53 to 47% for St. Louis. Ground duels, Atlanta won 34 of 67. Aerial duels, no surprise, 17 of 28 going to St. Louis. Atlanta had 9 successful dribbles compared to 4. Tackles won. 79% of the tackles won by Atlanta United in defense in the match on Saturday night compared to only 53% for St. Louis. 9 picks for Atlanta compared to 4, 52 recoveries compared to 49, 27 clearances compared to 18. And so that's where the numbers are for Atlanta United and the 1-1 draw against St. Louis City SC. Now, looking at the standings after the day, once again, Messi and friends at 20 matches played, 41 points. Cincinnati 2 points behind Cincinnati, and we'll get into this more tomorrow. You end up with no Miazga, no Miles. Nick Hagland has a fibula fracture, so he's done probably for the remainder of the season. Usually those take 6 to 8 weeks just to heal, and then recovery from there so you can become comfortable once again with putting weight on things. Nick Hagland might be done for the season. 34 points for Red Bulls after knocking off Toronto. They're in 3rd. Charlotte is in 4th at 32. Columbus with 3 matches in hand to most of the folks above them. They're at 30 points. NYC's at 29. Nashville's at 26. And they are at 6-5-8. Toronto is 7-10-3. They are a spot ahead of Atlanta in the 8-9. Atlanta is at 21 points, and they have a far better goal difference than Toronto. So if there is a win on the weekend, then Atlanta would go into 8th place and, in theory, be only 2 points behind Nashville going in if they took care of their business and Nashville had theirs to take care of. Orlando now below the playoff bar with Mason Stidahar in net because Pedro Gallese is at the Copa. Orlando's at 21 points, far worse goal difference than Atlanta. Philly's at 20 points. They got problems. New England's at 19. They've won 4 in a row. They have still only scored 17 goals in 17 matches, but sure enough, right now, 4 on the spin, and they are in 12th at 19 points, and they have the most wins of New England, D.C., and Montreal. D.C. has a better goal difference than Montreal, and Montreal has played one less match, and then Chicago is at 18 points at 4-9-6, and they are dead last in the East. In the West, LAFC, Salt Lake, and LAG all have 37 points. You want chaos, you got chaos. Where it's chaos at the bottom in the East, it's chaos at the top in the West. LAFC, 11 wins, so that puts them first. RSL and LAG have identical records. RSL has more goals scored, and they have a better goal difference, so that's why they're second, and LAG is third. Colorado is fourth at 31 points. If you had Georgi Mihailovic in your fantasy team, congratulations. Minnesota's in fifth. Portland and Houston and Austin are all at 27 points. They all have 7 wins. Portland has scored more goals than Houston. They are tied on goal difference. Austin has the worst number of goals scored among the 3, and they are worst in goal difference among the 3. Vancouver is the last playoff spot right now. They have 7 wins compared to Seattle's 6. That's your 9-10. Dallas is at 20 points. St. Louis is at 19 points after 19 matches at 3-6-10. Kansas City, and there's problems in Kansas City. 3-12-5, 14 points after 20 matches. San Jose, there's even more problems in San Jose. They have 11 points in 19 matches. They've given up 51 goals this season. 51, 5-0. Last time I checked, that's not good. Montreal, by comparison, has given up the most in the Eastern Conference at 41. Kansas City is the only one that's close at 44. San Jose has a porous defense. They are scoring goals, mind you, but they ain't stopping anybody. And we wondered about San Jose, and we wondered about Kansas City. And I can say Kansas City because it's not in all caps. But you got to keep an eye on San Jose and Kansas City right now. Kansas City did not look good on the weekend. And I don't know if zombie sporting is going to happen this season under any circumstance because you've got to make up 11 points. San Jose is 11 points right now, and it makes you wonder. So keep an eye on those two going forward. But that's your rundown of where things are and where things stand when it comes to what we've seen with the East and the West. Jared will be joining us at the top of the hour to discuss stuff with Bart. Now, the stuff this morning that we've seen in and around the world of transfers, this is not coming from someone who has 2,300 followers and might have something that catches lightning in a bottle at some place or another. Before we woke up this morning, but in the middle of the day in Europe, Fabrizio Romano, Tier 1 source. This is your Tier A++ sourcing. Eagle Group are closing in on the deal for Thiago Almada worth around $20 million. It would be valid for Botafogo with future move to Olympique Lyon as a part of the plan. Negotiations are advancing, as Cesar Luis Merlo reports. So Cesar Luis Merlo has been a part of the discussion as well. When Merlo, legitimately, when Merlo and Fabrizio Romano are your 1-2 in this, you have to pay attention. So it's $20 million. It's $20 million or $20 million over, just over $20 million. Botafogo, and the idea, considering it is Eagle Football Group, that you can go in a bunch of different directions. So Thiago Almada could, if these negotiations continue in the positive, could end up being Eagle Football Group's version of Tati Castellanos. And what I mean by that is that when Tati Castellanos became part of NYC, he became part of City Football Group. And that's why he was transferred to Girona, part of City Football Group. So Tiago, depending on the windows, could go to, say, depending on which window is earliest, he could be transferred to whichever team has the earliest opening window under the Eagle Football Group umbrella. Then he could be transferred to Botafogo in short order. And then when they feel that there's an opening at Lyon or Crystal Palace, then he goes from Botafogo to Lyon or Botafogo to Crystal Palace or Botafogo to Lyon to Crystal Palace. So once again, you're an asset in an organization that has a bunch of different ways that they can orchestrate where you play, who you play with, who you're playing for, all that kind of stuff. So think of this as basically an asset charged to an organization and not to a particular team. 20 million is the number that we're staring at. Something in the number of 20 million. And Eagle Football Group is keeping an eye on Thiago Almada. So what that gives you is $30 million to kind of dance around with. $10 from the sale of Yorgos Giacomakis, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 with Thiago Almada, minus the charge that's picked up by the league and those kinds of things. So, you're probably looking somewhere in the 25 to 27 range after the two transactions. So, as I'm sitting here and I'm trying to find confederations. So confederations, if we go UEFA, looking at summer windows. England's window opens up. England's window is actually already open. It opened on June 14th. So in theory, from June 14th until August 30th, theoretically, to make this happen with any sense of urgency, their window opens July 1st. So if you're dealing with this for a week, it could go one of two ways. Remember, when we're looking at franchises and ownership groups that have multi-club models, just think of this as an asset transfer, keeping in mind all of the different options that could happen. If Thiago Almada is, and I'm going to use air quotes here, if he is transferred to Crystal Palace, who in turn loans him to Lyon, this could already go down. If he is transferred to Lyon, that could happen in a week's time. So this gives you an opportunity to sit there and dance and figure out what you want to do for costs and all of that. So in a week's time, Thiago could just be transferred to Lyon inside Eagle Football Group and then loaned to Botafogo. So a week from now, the France window opens, and that's what you're staring at with the possibility of Thiago Almada. So like I said, you're looking in the neighborhood of 25 to 27 that you get to spend on your own after the league gets their cut. And then it's up to you to go chase. And then there were names that were listed when it came to folks that Atlanta United was interested in to bring back as resources. So it will be, once again, intriguing to see where this goes. But if Thiago, once again, Thiago could become property of Eagle Football Group. He could already be signed to Crystal Palace, loaned to Botafogo, or transferred to Lyon, who in turn would loan him to Botafogo, and then they would flip it around. So it's there. The pieces are, the pieces do exist. And so now it would be up to Atlanta to figure out where to go now. Our friends at RMC trying to recruit him, like I said, under contract through December 26. So he would play at least a year and a half in Brazil under colors of Botafogo before possibly signing with Lyon. But once again, remember, somebody wants you that bad, then you can figure out where you want to go. Especially within Eagle Football Group, you can sit there and slide it and go, okay, well, we'll chase after here. But yes, the possible replacement, and I'm not saying that for hashtag Thiago Almada replacement. I am discussing that in the sense of the roster, the new individual in the roster that you are chasing after. Once again, possibly revisiting League as a part of the deal. So it is now a little after 10 o'clock. Michael is in St. Louis. He's still in St. Louis. Please, like I said, please, if you're going to spend any time in St. Louis, watch the True South episode so you know what restaurants to go to. Yes, Brazil, Costa Rica, Stanley Cup Game 7. You got to love it. All right, so it's after 10 o'clock. And that means one thing on a Monday. Time to bring in Bart. What's the mug and what's in it?
Coffee. Drink coffee. Do good.
Okay. All right. So there are a couple of things that we kind of need to discuss, but
yeah.
But we'll get it. We'll get into VAR down here. Let's start with the men's national team and what happened yesterday. Kind of got into it with Abe a little bit to start things off, where when you're in a competition, you don't want to push the pedal down to the floor immediately and have the possibility of screwing up your transmission by hitting fifth gear out of the blocks. What do you think of match number one?
I reject your premise. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
This was the weakest team in the group.
True.
By far.
Yes.
The goal should be get as many points and goals in these first two games before heading into Uruguay.
Yes.
So I reject the premise that you don't want to, mess up your transmission. I think if you want to be hypercritical of this team, which I'm sorry, at 6 years into the Berhalter regime, we are allowed to be critical.
What?
This team struggled in the first half. They looked a little disconnected, made some bad choices in the final third, but they did score 2 goals in the first half. And then in the second half, it was a little bit better. He scored 0 goals. So, sometimes that is just how the sport works. Obviously, you should have scored more. That's not on the coach. That's on players need to put the ball in the back of the net. They had multiple opportunities to do so, failed to do so. The good thing is, yes, you won. You didn't give up any goals. You really didn't give up any chances. Bolivia is a not very good soccer team who played a game plan that was, I think we expected them to be a little bit more, not bunkered maybe, but like defensively minded, and they were not. You were able to create a lot of chances, but you also were still very sloppy in possession. Your possession stats, while you look at it and it's a decently high possession rate, the passing percentage was not fantastic, especially from their center backs who made a lot of passing errors in the game. And you didn't finish the opportunities you really created for yourself, especially in that second half. So again, to be critical, should have been a higher, wider score line. But you did win. And I guess if you're under this impression that somehow you're not supposed to go all out for the games in a tournament, then sure, congratulations. You didn't show everything in a game against Bolivia, as if there's anything to hide 6 years into the Berhalter regime with pretty much the same players that you had at the 2022 World Cup.
Shots on the day.
I'm happy, but like I'm tired of it. Like I'm sorry, I'm happy, but like that premise bothers me, John. I'm really sorry.
That's all good. No, shots 20-6 for U.S. over Bolivia. Shots on target 8-3. Bolivian keeper 6 saves compared to 3 for Matt Turner. 7 corners on the day compared to 1. 18 fouls by Bolivia. They were determined to muck the thing up as best they could.
Well, they got yellow cards for them at least.
Yep, 18-7 in fouls, 1 offside each possession, 61% to 39. And as we are always want to do in these situations, it's time for you to vent your spleen about player ratings. And our buddy Paul Kennedy over at Soccer America. Matt Turner got a 5. He's just like, it sounds like, yeah, he's just there. He got a 5. You know,
he was in position for the shots Bolivia took.
Yes. he was standing where he was supposed to stand.
He was standing in the middle of the goal, which is where all their shots ended up. So.
Yes. So then you look at the back line that started out with a back 4 of Scally, Richards, Ream, and Anthony Robinson. Chris Richards got roughed up by Paul Kennedy, only got a 3. Scally and Ream got 5s, and Jedi got a 6. What do you think about that?
I don't know about a 3, but I did think Chris Richards had a bad day, especially when it comes to trying to pass the ball out of the back. And he made some weird defensive choices. Again, I thought the back line, especially the center back, struggled in possession. That's not great because you're going to face a team in Panama who is more competent than Bolivia, who will want to capitalize on those mistakes. And then you're going to play a team in Uruguay who all they do is force turnovers. That's their whole thing. So if you're already forcing turnovers against a Bolivia team that was playing soccer, apparently, I mean, it wasn't a very organized, any sort of strategy from them. That's a problem. And they, again, you need to be critical of this team, even in a 2-0 win. It's okay to do that because there were some errors that we can't see against a Bolivia team. But again, they didn't give up any goals. And I think that's if you're looking at judging defensively, like they didn't give up any goals. And to be honest, even the shots they gave up were mostly 20, 25 yards out. So defensively, they all had a very good game.
Midfield, Tyler Adams started, got a 5. Weston McKennie got a 5. Gio Reyna got a 6. What say you?
I feel like Adams getting off at halftime is probably why he only got a 5. McKennie was up and down throughout the match. I think he struggled the most out of anyone, to the point where I wouldn't be shocked if he's not starting next game, but that's a discussion for later. I think it's weird to see Gio a little bit deeper than Wes. And I don't really understand why we keep trying to do that. I'm just a simple soccer watcher, but Gio Reyna to me is a guy who needs to be on the ball farther up the field to make magic happen in the attacking area, especially when against a team like Bolivia that was not very good, and you were able to pick apart a lot. Getting Gio higher up the field hopefully could have, in my opinion, been a better way to find better passes in the final third. But yeah, Wes not a great game from him.
Up top, Tim Weah and Falarin Balogun got 7s. Christian Pulisic, because he is Christian Pulisic, got himself an 8.
Yeah. If you want to look at the biggest positive from this game, it's that Christian Pulisic was ready to play, a goal and an assist. He was a true threat throughout the entire match. And Bolivia, I mean, he was getting past Bolivian defenders almost any time he wanted to. So that is a positive. Hopefully if you're looking ahead to Panama, especially a team that may be a little bit higher pressing, hopefully Christian can kind of replicate this performance where he can beat one player and then he's in behind goal. That would be good. He had a good game.
Yeah. Then your subs, Yunus Musa got a 5, Ricardo Pepi got a 4, Johnny got a 5, Luca Del Torre and Brendan Aronson got incompletes just because of the sheer amount of minutes that they were involved.
I thought Yunus was decent. I think he had some of his kind of patented dribble the ball 20 yards to, instead of a line breaking pass, it's a line breaking dribble. And I thought Johnny was good. I think they get a 5 because they didn't play a whole half Well, I guess Eunice did, but it was a short appearance for both of them. I thought they proved themselves to be effective against a team ranked 83rd in the world. So good for them.
Yes. And so that's where we are with the U.S. You've got the matchup on Thursday with Panama in the group right now, just because of you had to go to the third tiebreaker because Uruguay put 3 in.
Yeah.
And it is goal difference is the same, but number of goals scored is where the difference is with El Loco and Uruguay having scored 3 in their matchup last night in front of 33,000 at Hard Rock. And the by the way goal at the very, very end of the match is what kept the goal difference at 2. And so right now we're on goals scored. And in group, you got to beat up on those other teams because this is looking like it's going to be one of those shootout groups where you're looking at the GF category here.
Well, and again, that is the negative from last night from the U.S. is that you only scored 2. Now, Uruguay took them, 80 minutes to really start breaking down Panama. I thought Panama looked really good for 80, 85 minutes, to be quite honest.
Yep.
And then, Uruguay gets 2 goals at the late, and then Panama gets theirs. So, yes, the goal differential is the same. But, yeah, that is legitimately the biggest complaint you can have with the U.S. last night is you got to put the ball. I mean, I know it sounds harsh, right? But this is a tournament where at the international level, you do not get buckets and buckets of chances, and you have to finish them. So if you're Ricardo Pepi, you need to finish your chances. Flo Balogun had a couple in the first half that he probably should have scored. That is a legitimate criticism of this team is you need to put the ball in the back of the net. You created tons of chances and good opportunities for your strikers, and not a lot of goals came out of it. You also created some opportunities that kind of piddled themselves away because y'all ran into each other in the box. So those are things that you do need to be critical of in a tournament like this, where, as you mentioned, goal differential, goals for, that will be a difference maker. Now, again, I don't think it matters if you finish first or second in this group wholeheartedly, because your prize of coming in first is playing Colombia, maybe. Like, sure. It's not like, to me, there's not an easier route. You're going to have to play Brazil and Colombia. I mean, granted, if all things go according to plan, which they should.
Yeah.
But if, the goal should be to go win the group. The goal should not just be to advance. You're the host country. You're 6 years into a coach's regime. You've got most of the players returning from the 2022 World Cup. You need to start demanding more than just meeting expectations. And that's the problem with last night, of just being happy with a 2-0 win. And that sounds really, really harsh, and I understand that. But you need to start expecting more from this team, given all the continuity that they've built over, 2.5 years.
Jarrett Smith joining us here in the conversation in hour number 2. Jarrett, we've started stuff off discussing the USMNT, and Bart has been taking his gavel to the dais this morning, where the USMNT are concerned.
Yeah, it seemed like, and I caught the tail end of what Bart said, and I agree in that you created chances, but a similar tenor that I think we saw at the end of the regime here in Atlanta of the coaches can't go out there and finish for you, and I need you, world-class players, especially world-class, especially with the U.S. national team, maybe more so. I need you to go put ball in net, because that's going to matter here in the next few games, especially as you start playing some of these teams that don't give you as many chances. It might only be 2 or 3 really good chances in a game.
Mm-hmm. And you get that coming up soon with Panama. I guess I should ask Bart.
Yeah. Panama's going to be a pain in the ass to play. I feel like people are not giving, I don't want to say respect or credit enough.
Acknowledgement.
Yeah, I feel that too many people are looking towards the third match.
Ooh.
And I'm not saying the players are, I'm not accusing them of that, or not accusing the staff of that, but
right.
I feel like people are, a lot of fans are looking towards the third match. Like, Panama is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be like tackling a pillowcase full of bricks. Can you do it? Yeah. Are you going to enjoy it? No. No, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be fun. It can be done.
Bart, have you ever tackled a pillowcase full of bricks?
I have not tackled a pillowcase full of bricks, so but I don't imagine it would be fun. I have tackling dummies, and that sometimes was not fun.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, Jarrett, you're right. Like that's kind of the point. Is Panama is not going to give you a ton of opportunities. I mean, Uruguay did create 20 shots yesterday, scored 3 goals. So hopefully, if you can do something similar against Panama, you will get scoring opportunities. But again, you have to put the ball in the back of the net, because at the international level, maybe in the first 2 group games, and I'm not looking past Panama, I'm just looking at the reality is that when our A team has played Panama recently, we thumped them. This is a slightly different Panama team with a coach that has them playing in a more organized and structured way that's not just defend. But the reality is the last time these two teams played in the U.S. in a competitive game with our strongest lineup, it was 5-1. So you do need to go out there and put multiple balls in the back of the net. Maybe at the same time. I don't know if they'll let you do that. Figure out a way to do it.
If you're down by more than 2 with 10 to go, I think that's when Moneyball takes over.
Multi-ball. But you also, the question I try to ask myself after any match, and is this a replicable performance? And from the U.S. it is, right? You created chances. You stifled the opponent for the most part. So the question now is, okay, can you copy and paste this to the next game? You should be able to. The thing that you need to then do is improve upon a little bit of the passing out of the back. Again, not great. The passing numbers weren't fantastic, especially from the center backs. And then you need to put the ball go in net. Right, ball go in net, and that is still going to be the problem for this team.
Okay, Jared, anything else on your mind from what went down with the U.S. as they they won't look past Panama, but I think that a lot of fans are sitting there and looking at the matchup against El Loco and Uruguay as the decider and not paying attention to what's going to happen here on Thursday.
Take care of Panama. You did the job the other night. It should have been. It should have been a wider margin if you could finish in front of net with your world-class players. Tell them to put ball in net more consistently. And a lot of problems solve themselves by scoring goals.
Yes.
And yes, you're getting into good positions to do that. So you have to actually do that, and you quiet a lot of the discussions. Because you know what the inverse to that is? It's watching Scotland create 3 chances an entire tournament.
Oh, Lord.
So it's a much better world to be living in where we're creating chances and not scoring. Yes, please put them away. I promise the inverse of not creating those chances is so much worse. But this will be Panama will be fun in a really mean way. And then Uruguay will too. Whatever parts of the U.S. get out of this group is kind of going to be like 2/3 of a way through a Saw movie, where the last of the group is making it through. Maybe they're missing a finger or 2. They've lost some blood. That's kind of what it's going to be like getting out of this group stage. It's just going to be rough and tumble for the U.S. and possibly for Uruguay as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that'll be the fun part.
Yeah. It's look, again, you get 2 goals, you win 2-0, you don't give up a goal. I think that is the positive. You did not concede.
I think that was my favorite part of it, honestly.
Yeah. And that is great. Like Jarrett, we've watched teams multiple times put in great, create a lot of chances, but then you give up a stupid goal on the other end. Looking at you, Gonzalo Pineda. But you didn't do that. And that is a positive. That is the best part of this game, is you didn't give up a goal. And that is something that to credit Greg Berhalter and his team, defensively, they have been sound for as long as he has truly gotten his grip and identity on this team.
Okay, here we go. Reffing down here.
However,
and so what I'm going to do, once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, is I'm going to go to the end of the discussion. And this is how it ended with our 180-degree turn in the cutting of the promo by Filip Dujic, plus a little bit of what Jason and Mike have to say after the fact. As yes, I'm sharing the end of the story, but there's 5.5 minutes in the buildup to this ending that we've got to get into and discuss the other issues. So here is the end. Here is how Goldilocks got into the house. And this is when the Bears figured out that Goldilocks was still in the house and she was in bed number 3. So here's how it ended, and we'll go from there.
After review, there was no offside offense. However, prior to the goal, there was a foul committed by St. Louis. The final decision is direct free kick.
Wow! Wow!
All the way around, just ridiculous.
Wow!
All the way around.
Wow! But it was the start of the goal-scoring sequence, and that is absolutely within the VAR's purview.
The referee was right there on that, too. The referee was right there. He decided it was not a foul when Leuven went in for a tackle on Muyumba. That has been brought back. This referee crew and the VAR have dug themselves a hole that they didn't need to dig. They've created a problem that they didn't need to create. St. Louis is going to feel aggrieved. I understand it.
Sure.
When you see the replay, you can call the foul there. You can also not call the foul there like the referee did. But the offside portion of it, that is not what VAR is here for. That is ridiculous that they get involved. And I'm sure there's probably going to be something buried in a release about they overreached again.
Abe and I were in the studio. We were almost on the floor when this happened because first of all, the official's microphone was designed to blow out your eardrums in the most violent way possible.
Yes.
When it started, they had to adjust. Second of all, that delivery is 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
However,
It's also the emphasis there is no offside. However,
and that's where I okay.
All right. Let's just start with the.
Where do we want to start?
Let's start with the play itself.
Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess Bart, where do you want to start with this?
So I think the issue is that here you do work from the goal backward through the attacking phase of play, right? I think that's where the VAR process goes. Is you start at the goal. Let's look at the action that created the goal. Okay, then we go to a foul that could have been a penalty kick, and then we go to the foul that initiated the attacking phase of play. So we'll start at that point because first off, Klaus is in an offside position, right? That, to me, is something that we've seen given. We just talked about this in the Netherlands-France game. I don't even know how long. 2-3 days ago, a week ago, maybe.
Right.
That was a player who was in the line of sight, close enough to a goalkeeper to affect the goalkeeper's ability to make a play on the ball. This offside call being overturned, to me, is an egregious misapplication of the laws of the game. Klaus is in an offside position, in my opinion, in a position that can interfere with the goalkeeper, which means he is gaining an advantage by being in an offside position.
And you don't have to be obstructing, like standing in front. You can be line of sight. You can be in the periphery. You can be off to an edge. This is Caden Clark and Atlanta United against San Jose.
Exactly. If you're in the periphery, and Klaus was very much in the periphery of Brad Guzan. Like, that is, to me, a no. Like, I don't know how that's debatable in this case.
Right.
If the idea that the deflection off of, I want to say Morales, somehow negates that, then I don't think you understand soccer, because Brad is, in my opinion, as a goalkeeper who played a decent amount of soccer as a goalkeeper.
Yep.
I am still very concerned about homeboy who's 2 feet in front of me on my left side when that shot is taken, which, by the way, the shot was going to Brad's left side, right?
Correct.
then it gets deflected. Well, that deflection is not an intentional act. That would not have negated an offside had Klaus gotten the ball, in my opinion. That would have been an unintentional deflection by an opponent. Therefore, that does not, in my opinion, should not negate an offside. But just because it goes to the opposite side doesn't mean that the player, Klaus, is not still interfering with Brad. And I think that is a very bad application of the laws of the game. And I don't know who made that decision, because to me, that's not a clear and obvious error. The call of an offside was very clear to me that he is in an offside position and gain an advantage from being in that offside position, because he was, in my opinion, looking at this play, still affecting the goalkeeper's ability to save a ball. And yes, I understand it deflected went the other way. The initial shot was going to Brad's left. Klaus was on his left. Brad is trying to factor in this guy. Now, Brad is 39 years old. I don't think necessarily if Klaus isn't there that he somehow gets that deflection. I don't think any goalkeeper does. But you cannot make that assumption. You can't talk about that. You have to look at what we saw, and Klaus is in an offside position in a way that, into my opinion, very much interferes with Brad Guzan's ability to make a play on the ball.
The larger element in this, once again, is VAR re-refereeing a judgment call.
And I think that is legitimately the issue, because I think the offside thing, to me, I don't know how they were looking too hard at that. I think they checked it. And I did tweet out my theory that's making myself feel better about my life.
Yeah.
They said no offside because the attacking phase of play, they had a foul there, and there's no offside, because how do we have an offside when there's no, everything else after that is canceled out? That's what I'm telling myself to make myself feel better. But you had the offside thing, which again, in my opinion, should have stood like he was offside. Then you have the foul in the box that, in my opinion, probably could have been called a penalty kick. I got to be honest with y'all. That looked pretty foul-ish to me.
It looked foul.
It looked very foul. And had they given that, I don't think we would have had a lot of room to argue, because that is the point of VAR. Because in that situation, the referee and the AR are not super concerned with the foul that's relatively off the ball, but still impacting the play as a whole, because who knows what happens if that player gets into the box, The real issue is you go back to that foul, the attacking phase of play, and as you mentioned, Dujic is right there to look at this. And he had judged it at the beginning that there was no foul.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you're on a roll. Keep going.
But no, so all of a sudden you look at this. I mean, it was a foul. I think it's okay to say that was a foul. It should have been called a foul in the moment. So to me, the problem is that listen, I think the problem here is Filip Dujic is struggling at this level to referee the matches. And we're not talking about match control. We're talking about actual foul recognition. That is a foul you need to be calling, because it was very clear that Lewin, if he got the ball, it was conceptually he got the ball. He didn't really. He got a lot of Tristan Muyemba. Let's just put it that way. If he got the ball, it was more of a direction of the fact that he had already cleared out Muyemba.
Yeah.
It was a foul. It absolutely was a foul. And the fact that Dujic didn't call it in the moment, to me, is not even a VAR thing. That is a discerning thing.
But two wrongs don't make a right here. Where you have, and I agree with you that having Yunus Morakchi, your VAR, dialing it all the way back to, at the end of the day, you're making the right call. But it's the VAR re-refereeing what happened on the field, which you can, like I said, you can take it either way. You can look at, the impact that was had on William. But the idea that VAR, and by the way, for those of you that may not remember Yunus Morakchi as a VAR, you might remember the 2021 ghost red card that Jake Mulroney got against, I think it was against Nashville. Jake Mulroney's red had Joe Dickerson on the field and had Eunice Morakchi as your VAR in that instance. So the larger point, once again, for me is you're having VAR re-refereeing a judgment call on the field. Yes, it was the right call, but VAR is overstepping its bound over a clear and obvious error and making the right call. That to me is the larger issue here with the impact of what we're seeing.
Yes and no. I think this is where if the on-field referee going to the monitor should be able to make these decisions. And I think in this situation, the foul on Muyumba, the foul by Lewin, because it starts the attacking phase of play.
Absolutely.
That's where you're allowed to go back to. And it very much is it directly creates that attacking phase of play, even as well. So I don't know if this was necessarily re-refereeing because the ref got it wrong.
Right.
The ref on the field got it wrong. So I understand your concern about re-refereeing. I do. However, is
it the job of VAR to
go
back?
The job of VAR to go back to the start of the attacking phase of play and review possible clear and obvious errors on the field.
But
a foul is a reviewable offense.
Okay. But was it a clear and obvious error?
Yes, absolutely.
So then can you explain off either way? You've explained that yes, the Muyumba foul is a foul. Could you, if you call a match a certain way, could you also look at that contact and go, yeah, okay, play on? Could you also look at that and call it either way? That's my larger point.
Well, play on would be in this situation not calling a foul.
Correct. So could you for a double negative, could you not call that as a foul? And I know that we've already called it a foul at the beginning of the phase of play, but could you also not call that as a foul?
Well, I mean, clearly Duich didn't call it a foul.
Right. Okay. So and that's
because he didn't think it was a foul.
And
but
so
upon review, he thought it was a foul.
But that's where I'm circling back to. That to me sounds like re-refereeing, where if Dujic lets it go, then it's gone and it's not a part of his.
Well, the question now, John, is did he let it go or did he miss the call?
Right. And so, so if he let it go, it's one thing. If he missed the call, that's something else.
Yeah, because letting it go or missing the call is is what we're looking at here.
But aren't you
letting it go could be more what we saw with the penalty kick foul, right? That's not really something I'm going to call. I don't think that rises to the level of a clear and obvious error.
But if a ref lets it
go, I'm telling you, it's not that he let it go. In his opinion, he probably thought it wasn't a foul.
Okay,
so he saw that and he said it's not a foul, and then you get video evidence that it is a foul. Then the on-field referee can go, "Yep, I missed that. My bad."
Okay, all right. Like I said, this is why
it's not. This was not a I let it play on because it's not really a foul. It's not. It's not. What's his name telling me that Brooks Lennon dove in the box in Miami 3 years ago?
Boy,
this is I missed that. That was a foul. And in his defense too, yes, he was there to make the call. He was slightly blinded in his position by Lowen. He looked straight onto it. I think he thought that Lowen got the ball. And so again, when he got to see and saw that there was no contact on the ball and that was a foul on Muyumba, that's why the call was reversed.
Okay, see, and this is why I want to have these discussions with you to walk us through these, because to me, once again, this seems like another instance of re-refereeing everything and taking over a situation than it does.
It's not that. I'm not going to say that the VAR, didn't go back and say, "Hey, man, I think you missed this call." I think that's fair to say. My point is, this wasn't I just let them play on, or I didn't think there was much into it. This was.
But is missing a call a clear and obvious error, though, or not acknowledging a call? Is not acknowledging a call or not acknowledging a foul, is that a clear and obvious error?
No, missing a call is.
Okay.
And that's my point, is I think I missed that. Not, it's fine.
So then is it VAR's job to adjudicate a missed call because it wasn't called?
When it appears in the attacking phase of play, it's under their purview. Is it their job? Yes. Does it mean it always is going to happen or should happen? But that's the job of VAR.
Okay. Like I said, this
to
is
review
why
the attacking phase of plays for clear and obvious errors. And to me, it's a pretty clear and obvious error that was a missed foul call.
No, like I said, this is why I like to have these discussions and have this here with you so we can walk through these and see what a referee's point of view is and see what these particular situations are for the 98th week in a row.
Again, my issue is Dujic has not been good as an official in matches. I mean that sincerely. We need referees. I'm not going to be too harsh on the guy, but like his level of foul recognition, his control over matches has been concerning in the matches we've seen of him.
True.
And I know we can more so than other match officials, right? What's his name on Saturday? No, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever we played DC, one of those days.
Wednesday, yeah.
What year is it, John?
Yeah, exactly.
That was an official who I think we have issues with on, as you joked, like he doesn't call many fouls, and when he does, it's a yellow card.
Yeah.
But he is consistent and still manages games in a relatively okay enough manner.
Oh, Pierre-Luc was there,
yeah. I would argue that he allows too many fouls to go. I think we could all look at that. But he is consistent in what he does, right? And he has his line, his bar that he sees, and it's just a very high threshold. Dujic is struggling with that. And
Dujic, for the record, is 31st in fouls called per match at 24.22.
Foul recognition doesn't necessarily mean that you're not calling fouls. It just means, are you recognizing when you should and shouldn't call fouls?
And he is,
and as we saw with Muyamba, he just missed some.
And 24th in yellows per match at 4.44.
Yeah.
And he's in the top page. He is 7th in yellow cards administered this season with 40. And he's in a tight race to go top 5 with folks like Ismir Pekmich and Rosendo Mendoza. So thanks to our friends at Who Scored for that, because Pro has decided not to post these numbers this year. And so we're having to go to other places. Who said that out loud? I guess that was me. David said going back to foul and build-up does negate having to review a possible penalty. So
right, and so that's the thing is that if you go from finish to start of the attacking phase of play, you review the offside, you make your decision there, then you go back to the penalty kick foul, you make that decision there, then you go back to the foul and make your decision there. Because if that is adjudged to be a clear and obvious error, which it was, then everything else after that doesn't matter, which is why I'm kind of thinking that the offside thing, why he said there was no offside, because the attacking phase of play never happened at that point.
Yeah. So you're basically wiping out events as you go back to retrace your steps to get you to the first offense. And that's when you.
Right. And the reason is you have to do it that way. And I know that sounds backwards, is you need to make sure that you do have to work backwards, because was the goal a goal?
Yeah.
And my concern is clearly I'm telling myself this to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
My concern is clearly they saw what happened with the goal and said, yeah, it's a goal, which to me was not a clear and obvious error. I thought that the call in the field was a judgment call by a lot of people involved.
Right.
That to me was pretty legitimately called correctly.
Okay.
I don't like, if you're talking about, percentage wise, I think they got the call about 75-85% correct. And
so you're going goal, offside, obstruction.
Right. So the goal being scored by and then having that offside issue. Right. So the goal is fine. The offside, to me, again, he was offside.
Okay.
Then you're looking at the penalty kick call, which probably was the least important thing of all this. They probably just went, I don't know about that. Move on. And then they go back to the Muyamba foul.
Yeah. And the the line of sight issue and obstruction. And so, all right, so you're going goal, offside, obstruction, foul. That's where you're working backward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if that's like for sure how it should be done. I'm just saying that that's the way it is being done.
Okay.
Because to me, you should start at the attacking phase of play and build up, but whatever.
Okay. But like I said, this is why I like to have you in for these instances to break all this stuff down, to get a referee's perspective on what you're looking at and how we can call things either way, so we can be more aware in these situations, to sit here and say, okay, A builds back to B. In this case, it's this, it's this, and it's this. And that's why I like to do this.
I mean, the reality is the most important thing you're going to, like, again, game-changing decisions, right?
Yeah.
Or events, right? Game-changing, match-altering, whatever. The
match-altering decisions.
I can't.
Sure. Why not?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is a goal, right? A goal is a match-altering event, right? Game-critical event, whatever what you want to call it.
Right.
So you have to review that first, and that's where that offside comes in. The next one is a penalty kick, right? So that's where we are looking at the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You are looking at, okay, well, what are the match critical events here? Mm-hmm. Goals, penalty kick, and then the start of the attacking phase of play.
Okay. So what are the plans leading up to Thursday? Are you going to be at Fido, or are you going to be in-house?
So, well, let's see. I'll be at Fido Wednesday night. I'll be there probably starting around 2:00, honestly, for the AO Night Before party featuring some guy named Roger Bennett. You may have heard of him.
And
another dude named Dax McCarty. So you may have heard of those two. They'll be at Fido for a Q&A session, just a quick one, only about 45 minutes long, in between the two Copa America games.
Okay.
And then Thursday is a tailgate for any and all Atlanta soccer fans. You do not have to support the U.S. If you do show up in non-U.S. colors, I can't promise you won't get face paint or a tattoo slapped on you. But that'll start at noon. If you are somehow off work that day and want to come join us, we'll be going from noon to game time and the supporters lot. And then the game is at 6.
Correct.
It's going to be a nervy one. If you haven't bought tickets yet, there are tickets available in the 300 level section and otherwhere, depending on what your price point is. I understand. We can talk about that later if you want, or we can talk about it now. I understand that Copa America and CONMEBOL, their ticketing processes and practices were not great. I get it. But if you want to come and watch the U.S. men's national team for the first time in Atlanta in 9 years, you have that opportunity.
So what are you up to on Friday?
Well, I'll either be dead or hungover.
So let's say
probably hungover.
All right. So
I'm doing all right this morning, to be honest.
Yes.
Also, we'll see if I have a voice.
So what are you up to between, say, 10 and 10:30 Friday morning?
I don't think I have anything other than, again, finding my voice, because I'm banking on the fact that it will be non-existent after Thursday night. But I will be free.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way.
Okay. So then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my notebook that has all of my guests and my possibilities.
All right.
So what I'm going to do, and you've got to be done by 10:30, because Johnny Mercado is going to be coming in from Apotheos because of their big matchup with AppFC. So after the Friday free kick with Beyond Goals mentoring, Bart is pinned in at 10 o'clock on Friday to discuss, if he has a voice, what happened with USA and Panama down at Mercedes-Benz. And after the fact, we can discuss ticketing and capacities and what happened and the growing pains and the administration of same, because we don't know how full the building is going to be. And if it's not full, then we can discuss the ticketing aspects of it on Friday as a part of USA and Panama discussions. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right. So
we can also talk about that after the whole tournament's over, because it's been a problem.
True. So we can put a Post-it note in it involving the matches at Mercedes-Benz, and we'll discuss it once the whole Copa is over as well. So, my friend, as always, it's great to chop it up with you and get the referee's perspective and get your perspectives on the USMNT. What is the latest with the Soccer for USPOD, by the way?
We will record after group stage is over.
Okay.
And so that'll be next week.
Sure.
Which tight turnaround for me because I am flying out to Salt Lake City for that next
week. Right,
you
got to
so
going to Rio Tinto.
I am going to Rio Tinto. If anyone else is going, would love to see you. Hopefully, the U.S. is playing a match at a time. I think if they win the group, they're playing at a time before that game kicks off in Salt Lake City. We'll see. Yeah. So, but that'll be the plan. We'll record an episode about the group stage and all that. Hopefully, it includes mostly positive things. And again, I think Jarrett and I kind of I think would agree on this, is that the goal for this group stage is to not have to play for anything against Uruguay.
Correct.
And if you win, you lose, you draw, who cares? Ideally, though, you're racking up enough points and goals in these first two matches that, hey, a draw gets you the win in the group. And that would be really cool to win your group again while playing at home in Copa America. So hopefully. So that'll be that's the plan. Next, let's see, Tuesday we'll record.
Okay. All right. So next Tuesday you're going to record, or however many Tuesdays from now you're going to record, but you'll be back. You'll be back with something resembling a voice in the 10 o'clock half hour on Friday. We can do some post on USA and Panama and talk ticketing and Mercedes-Benz and partying. Remember, throat coat tea from traditional.
I know. Yeah, I got that, and I've got my Ricola cough drops as well in stadium bag.
Excellent, well done. Yeah. So you got to take care of the pipes because you got a quick turn from the match on Thursday coming on Friday morning. Be well, my friend. Drink coffee, do good, and we will see you on Friday. Actually, we'll see you Thursday in person, and we'll see you Friday morning here on the show.
You have a wonderful birthday. Enjoy celebrating 40.
Yes, 40 repeating. Thank you very much. All right,
happy birthday.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you. That's Bart, and so yes, happy birthday to me. Thank you, Abby. And so Michael is still in St. Louis. I think Abby is still in St. Louis. Abby's going to the Braves game tonight. Okay, so this is where you package it into a full deal, the full schmear, as they say. So some folks are staying behind for Braves and Cardinals, and it's been a full weekend for some folks up in St. Louis, and so well done. Breaking news out of Kansas City, and I'm trying to see if folks if Sporting is officially commenting on it or if they've just announced the announcement. It's not the Peter Vermees announcement, but it is in the organization in and of itself. So Sporting announces that Brian Bliss is out as technical director and vice president of player personnel. So the first domino, we were discussing dominoes and such involving Sporting Kansas City. And it is now Brian Bliss out as TD and vice president of player personnel. That was a rough match to watch. And for those of you that had Cucho on your fantasy team, I tip my hat to you because you did well. You chose wisely as a part of everything. So Sporting Kansas City with a move in the front office this morning, and I think that is probably the first move of everything that is going on involving Sporting Kansas City. They're just making that move to make that move. Okay, so here we go. It did 18 minutes ago. Bliss joined Sporting's technical staff. So Sporting Kansas City announced today the clubs mutually agreed to part ways with Brian Bliss, technical director, vice president of player personnel. Joined the technical staff in 2016 as DPP. In 2019, took the role he's held for the last 5 years. Ended his professional playing career with the Wiz in 98. Assistant coach from 2000 to 06. Quote from Michael Illig: Sporting will make an announcement regarding the leadership of the club's technical staff in the coming days. Then you have 3 paragraphs on Brian Bliss's career. So Sporting Kansas City announces clubs mutually agreed to part ways with Brian Bliss, the TD and vice president of player personnel. So that's about 20 minutes old this morning here on SDH. So we need to get into the Euros. We need to get into what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, plus the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We mentioned the gossip involving Thiago Almada. Thank you, Four Card. Right now, and thanks to folks that are, keeping an eye on this time of year, as you do. So right now, and folks have linked to this out of Newcastle, and Sharon Kelly. And Kelly claims that there are a lot of moving parts. And once again, strangely enough, this happened at the same time that the Fabrizio Romano tweet came out this morning. So Sharon Kelly, who is he's the Newcastle beat writer for the Newcastle Chronicle and Journal. And he says a lot of moving parts, but looking increasingly likely that Callum Wilson will leave Newcastle United this summer. Thank you, Alex, for the heads up. Atlanta United and Charlotte among a number of clubs showing an interest. So it is attracting interest from Premier League and the league that we neither condone nor endorse nor promote, Atlanta United, Charlotte FC. And Kelly says who both crucially have designated player spots. This enables such clubs to make moves for players like Wilson, who would ordinarily fall outside their salary cap. Atlanta need a heavyweight striker, and Charlotte are managed by Dean Smith, who's long tracked him. Smith tried to sign Wilson in 2020, even held talks with the England national before he opted to go to Newcastle. 48 goals for Newcastle, despite a number of injury setbacks, which have limited his availability. And Eddie Howe said a few weeks ago, he comes back time and again. He's a very motivated player. I've managed him for a long time now. Mentality-wise, I wouldn't swap him. He's a monster. So keep an eye on, obviously, Newcastle. They're revamping and £60 million interest and a striker-eyed walk away from Calvert-Lewin deal, and Minted to Everton talks are off. So combination of things going on this morning with Newcastle. Our friends at Transfermarkt have Callum Wilson rated at a 13 million euro evaluation. 4 years ago, he was valued at 30, now valued at 13, courtesy of our friends at Transfermarkt. Al Ahly, Al Fateh, Al Nasser, Atlanta United, Charlotte FC. That's what you're looking at right now with Callum Wilson as a part of the alleged, possible, probable, perhaps discussions involving Callum Wilson and his next place of employ. Remember that profit and sustainability rules are creating something akin to yet another transfer window inside of the Premier League, and trying to get folks out, to get folks in to where you can navigate and be under PSR rules. Newcastle, remember, you can only lose $105 million in a 3-year period. Newcastle was already 3/4 of the way there after 1 year. So they have some work to do to stay inside the guideposts and the guardrails of the profit and sustainability rules in the Premier League. And Alex and Dylan Butler are staring at what's going on and wondering, okay, what's next? Who's in? Who's out? All that. So that's where we are with Newcastle this morning. Keep an eye on Callum Wilson. Four-card is like hard pass on Callum Wilson. I'm the injury concerns for me. And Four-card, thank you. SDH is the go-to goats. We are humbled at your evaluation, as we always are. Abby went to the AO St. Louis for the U.S. match last night, and Atlanta's got better watch parties. Wow. Four-card, always amazed to remember that I share birthdays with Messi, and Jason shares a birthday with CR39. Wow, I didn't know that Jason had CR39 as a birthday. But yeah, me and Messi and Rich Eisen, actually. Rich Eisen. I think Rich and I have the same birth date. But we actually have the same birthday. We might actually have the same birth date, actually. Euros. And there is some stuff to get into with the Euros here. Actually, let me get into what to watch and where to watch it before we move any further. Croatia and Italy's on Big FOX at 3. Albania and Spain is on FS1 at 3 o'clock. Copa America tonight is on FS1 and 2 to NA, 6 o'clock. Colombia, Paraguay, Brazil, and Costa Rica is at 9 o'clock. Unimas, is simulcasting Brazil, Costa Rica at 9. Univision is simulcasting Colombia, Paraguay at 6. VIX is simulcasting the Euro matches at 3 o'clock. And remember, there are ways to get VIX because it's a lot cheaper than Fubo. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it with my phone carrier, because I know there's a way to do it, but I don't want to add another line or anything like that. So there's a way to do it. And I'm trying to figure out how that is. Okay, so Euros yesterday, it was a painful watch. And I know that Jarrett, when Jarrett can slide back in, Alex, ooh, wow. I know that Jason's jealous with you, Alex, sharing a birthday with Maradona. I know that Jarrett, when it came to the discussions about what was happening yesterday, what wasn't happening yesterday, the numbers, according to Opta, Scotland, 17 shots at the Euro in total. Since the group stage was introduced in 1980, that is the joint fewest by a nation in the group stage, along with Northern Ireland at the Euro in 2016. Out the door. And in a match where you needed to be offensive-minded, Steve Clark was not. Absolutely was not. And you waited until what, the 88th minute to bring in Lewis Morgan? What in the wide world of sports were you thinking, or were you? That's the larger question for me, is that it took you too long to try to be aggressive in a match where you needed to be aggressive. You almost got away with it, but then Hungary scored in the 110th, or the 100th minute, the 100th minute, and just sent you packing anyway. But it was an adventure yesterday in the Euro, and we'll get into juice boxes for today in a bit. Looks like Conor Gallagher is set to start for England for Gareth Southgate. We mentioned Scotland, and there actually was a player that got a 3 in their rankings. So I'm trying to see, who was it? Looking at John McGinn got a 3, and one of the folks that was giving the punditry that was there, giving all of the notations, 4 shots on target, more than 180 minutes. You needed to be aggressive. The only Euro 2024 goal scorer in the Scotland ranks was Scott McTominay. Fans deserved more, and it is definitely time, I think, for Clark to be on his merry way. It was not it was not a good display by Scotland in this particular tournament. It will be it will be interesting to see how Scotland as a national organization responds. Wales let go of their coach. Scotland should be getting rid of theirs. I mean, you seem to be happy with a draw in a situation where you were waiting for a moment, and the moment never happened. And then in the 88th minute, you bring in Lewis Morgan, and then you realize, oh, yeah, I've got 12 minutes to go here. I've really got to do something. And if you go back to the Che Adams substitution, maybe 20 minutes or so, 10 plus the 10. So it was an adventure watching Scotland. And so when Jarrett comes back on, we will discuss with him. You also had what happened yesterday in the match involving Barnabas Varga. And a lot of folks are hot about this. It was UEFA has finally responded to the criticism of the medical response. The Hungarian striker, Barney Varga, it was a ball that goes inside just outside the 6, and you have a lot of bodies going into a very small amount of space. And it was a collision that at first glance looked like Varga just went by Angus Gunn and didn't make any contact. And it was when he hit the ground was when the injury happened. But it was as Gunn was going out and Varga was going toward goal, Gunn was coming out toward goal. And contact was made, given medical treatment on the pitch. 26-year-old stable condition, required surgery for facial fractures. UEFA came under fire for the immediate response from Captain Dominik Szoboszlai, as well as many fans who expressed criticism on social media. Szoboszlai slammed UEFA as he questioned why it took so long for the medics to start tending to Varga. Szoboszlai and other Hungarian players were seen putting their teammate who had been knocked unconscious into the recovery position. So you'll remember, for those of you that watched it, Szoboszlai and his teammates turned Varga on his shoulder. I mean, he was out. He was out laying on his back. And so the Hungarian players get to Varga and turn him on his side to make sure that, because he wasn't really, he was having issues breathing. And so they turn him on his side. Szoboszlai was seen and trying to bring the medics and the stretcher to his teammate's side. UEFA have defended their response by saying they followed all protocols, that treatment was not slow, as some have claimed. Here's what UEFA said in response. With regards to the medical intervention following the head injury suffered by Barnabas Varga of Hungary, we would like to clarify that the intervention of the team doctor happened within 15 seconds of the incident, followed immediately by the second stadium doctor to conduct a first assessment of the injury and provide appropriate treatment as per customary medical procedures. The qualified pitch side emergency team were waiting pitch side according to their protocol and arrived with the stretcher as soon as their intervention was requested by the medics to evacuate the player for his immediate transfer to the hospital. The coordination between all the medical staff on site was professional, and everything was done in accordance with the applicable medical procedures. There was no delay in the treatment and assistance of the player. For those of us that were watching it in real time, it was you had the head coach of Hungary basically ushering and urging the stretcher and the medical staff out onto the field. Literally, you see the cutaway of the manager for Hungary, like, y'all go. And Szoboszlai is now demanding changes to the protocols after after the injury to Varga. Let's see. Stable condition. Marco Rossi confirmed he was going to need surgery. So Szoboszlai needs some surgery on his face. Looked bad. He felt bad. I really don't know what protocol is. I don't know how it works. But if our doctor says we need to go on immediately to someone to help, then I don't think they should walk. It's not my decision. This is Dominik Szoboszlai talking. It's not my decision, but I think we need to change something that even if somebody's on the ground and you see that it was a big crash, then just go in. Even if the referee's saying don't come in, just go in. And if you see that it's nothing serious, then you can just go down and it's finished. But seconds can help a lot. And then that was when UEFA released their statement. Kevin Schobot got the goal. And so now Hungary has to wait to figure out if they're going to be one of the number 3 seeds that will be going into the 15 seconds was like, I mean, we can all look at the tape, but it looked like a lot longer than 15 seconds. Yes. Abby says the health of the players are most important. It is a game. No doubt about it. And so, yeah, it was very scary stuff that we were looking at in all of that. Nacho has now signed his 2-year deal, according to Ben Jacobs, who's traditionally very, very busy, to Al-Qadsiya. Joins the newly promoted Saudi side on a deal with a guaranteed €20 million wage plus bonuses. Let's see, what other news? So Varga is stable as of very, very early this morning. Let's see, Nacho signing, no Dominic Calvert-Lewin to Newcastle. Let's see. Yeah, Newcastle have withdrawn their interest. Mintet to Everton, now also looking very unlikely, with Lyon among the clubs ready to pounce. Manchester United willing to pay more for Lenny Yoro than Real Madrid. Manchester United still facing an uphill task in pursuit of the teenager. And I don't know if you saw this. And like I said, this has to do with the 3 and the 4 letter papers. So, take it with all of the credence that is naturally attached. But it appears that Birmingham City and Wrexham wanted to play each other here in the United States. But that idea was poo-pooed. And that came across in the Daily Mail. And so the idea that Birmingham City with their American owners and Wrexham with their American owners, they wanted to have some activity here in this side of the planet, and that was not to happen. And so initially they wanted to make sure that it could happen on this side of the planet, but now that is not the case. That was waved off by the powers that be. And so that might be just kind of the first thing that we see when it comes to wanting to play stateside. So we will see how that continues. But yeah, Wrexham and Birmingham City wanted to play here in the U.S. because Birmingham City with their U.S. owners, including Tom Brady, and Wrexham with their owners, would make for a fun episode of the series that is currently on FX, but not allowed. And apparently the EFL was not happy that it was brought forth as an idea when it comes to playing matches that are in league play. And as things continue to roll forward. So other gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here. Bayern Munich interested in signing Bernardo Silva. He's got a £50 million buyout clause in his contract. That is from the other four-letter paper. So once again, take the interest and take the concept at your own peril. Dortmund very close to reaching a verbal agreement with Brighton's Pascal Gross, who's got 1 year left on his deal. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Arsenal's Mikel Arteta could risk upsetting some senior players if the club move for Athletic Bilbao's Nico Williams gets his wage demands. That's from the Express. Chelsea interested in Williams also. He's among the attacking targets for PSG after the departure of Kylian Mbappe, who allegedly has not been paid in 2 months by the PSG hierarchy. Manchester United, Liverpool have both made bids for Lille's Lenny Yoro, 18 years old. Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal among the 5 clubs still in consideration for Joshua Kimmich if he leaves Bayern Munich. Four-letter paper, Liverpool's Adrian close to finalizing a move to Real Sociedad. Chelsea moved to sign Maximilian Bayer from Hoffenheim. That's from Bild. Manchester United's former striker Ruud van Nistelrooy has been approached to be a part of the new coaching staff for Erik ten Hag. AC Milan have joined the race to sign Calvert-Lewin with the Serie A side looking to replace Olivier Giroud, four-letter paper. We mentioned Lyon entering the race to sign Gambian winger Yankuba Minte, who's only 19. Reported to agree to personal terms with one of the many clubs that have expressed interest in signing him. Forest have opened discussions with Villa over a deal on defender Lamar Bogard. Crystal Palace have lined up a replacement who is even better than Michael Olise, according to TalkSport, who's set to join Bayern Munich. Don't know who that is. I wonder who that could be. So you got all that. Oh, and the one other thing to keep an eye on, it appears, according to sources and folks on the 280-character app, that Bob Bradley might be the first ever head coach for San Diego FC. So keep an eye out for that. And then do not be surprised if that ends up being the case, that you would have another Bradley on staff as an assistant coach. No word on if Bradley would get the keys to the full car and be both technical director and head coach GM, however you want to phrase it. But yeah, don't be surprised if that does in fact being the case, where it is not El Piojo, but it ends up being Bradley, that you could end up having both Bob and Michael on the same staff there. That's me just extrapolating and thinking forward when it comes to all of the stuff. Great conversations that we had this morning with Bart about VAR and about the U.S. men's national team. Remember, he's going to be at Fido a lot this week, as should you if you have the time and if you are anywhere close. Tomorrow, we are efforting guests. We'll go through the rest of what's going on in Major League Soccer, getting ready for the twos. The twos are back at it after 3 weeks of not being at it. Crazy. You'll have the twos at Orlando City B on the network on Wednesday. 7:03 kick Eastern time, but we will have pregame show about 6:45. And we will have the twos and OCB Wednesday night. Then on Sunday afternoon, evening, depending on what you think 6 o'clock is, it'll be the twos and Inter Miami 2. So Messi and Friends B and Atlanta United 2 is Sunday night, Sunday afternoon pregame show. Kickoff 6:03 Eastern time. We're going to be catching up with Steve Cook a couple of times this week to get ready for the matchups as the twos are finally back at it in MLS Next Pro. 3 weeks off. Man, it's just nuts. Yeah, Abby, it was a spirited discussion when it came to what we all thought about VAR and what was going on in St. Louis. Thank you, all of you who've reached out one way or another, whether it's been on the Discord or if it's been in DMs, if it's been on Twitter, if it's been in the Twitch pitch this morning. However you've been reaching out to me, I'm very humbled that you've all reached out to wish me another trip around the sun and being successful. And so, like I said, the boss and I are kind of meet in the middle. We have dinner scheduled for the both of us tomorrow because her birthday is the 27th. She'll be with girlfriends. I'll be at Mercedes-Benz. And so today and then the 27th, you meet in the middle. It's like 25 and a half. So halfway through the 25th is when the boss and I are going to celebrate both of our birthdays. Special, the fact that I made it another year around the sun. It's not a round number or anything like that. But for those of you that missed it initially, let me go back here. What the boss did is she created a roadblock and made it very, very difficult for me to actually sit this morning. And so she had these constructed, and Abby, the sticks that you gave me to help out with the set here came in handy as gravity was challenging one of the numbers involving the display. And so, yeah, so helping out with all of the gravity here was what was going on. And so you see the bunting and the banners and everything. And so the boss is insane. She lost her mind and made it difficult for me to start at 9:05 this morning because I had to wade through all of this to actually find a place to sit down. So I am truly blessed and blessed all of the, it's a 6. So I'm 40 repeating, 39 repeating. Not quite a round number. Last year was a round number. This year is not. But tomorrow we'll go back over everything that is going on in Major League Soccer, efforting some guests to talk about 65. I am exactly 65. But we're efforting some guests tomorrow, and we'll hopefully have them to talk about what's going on in Major League Soccer and everything else that's going on, whatever's on your mind, whatever we missed in discussing Atlanta United and St. Louis, anything else in Major League Soccer, anything else involving the U.S. men's national team, anything else going on involving the chase of Thiago Almada and possible suitors, and Callum Wilson and possible suitors. So it'll be all out there again tomorrow morning at 9:05. Thanks to Jarrett, thanks to Bart, thanks to Abe, thanks to y'all. And we'll do it again in a little less than 22. So since it is the end of the show, that means that I get to whistle our way out of here until we can come up with closed music. So here's your outro full screen, and I'll whistle us to a close. We'll see you in less than 22.